Hi, this is Vince, Auto Restoration Videos. Make sure you go to our website, autorestorationvideos.com. Click on my Facebook link. I go into great detail, more detail than we'll cover here probably on this video, on how to do this job that I'm working on right now, which is working on a 1982 Porsche 911 SC. Okay, now if you're wondering what this is a piece of wood that's used to cover the pedal assembly. Alright, then they put the rug right on top of this. Now these two big holes right here, one is for your brake, one is for your clutch. Okay, now since this thing is like over 30 years old, what has happened, this whole thing is just delaminating, and it's like pieces of paper almost. And so if you think you're going to just get some glue maybe and put it in here somehow and glue it back together, you can forget about it. You'll have to take every piece on here apart. Then you still won't be as strong as the original piece of wood. Okay? Now, I checked on eBay, did a quick check, and nobody's even selling these things. It's unfortunate. They could probably make some money here. Now, my first thought was to just make this thing out of wood and be done with it. But, we had this angle in here. That's like maybe a 35-degree angle or something. It'd be a little hard to get that angle in a piece of wood, even though they did it. They probably heated up some kind of roller, and then they made this thing they wet, and then they put it through the roller and they bent it. Okay? But I hate using wood on a car. Period. It's as bad as using wood in a boat. Thing rots away in a heartbeat. You get bugs in it and everything, and look what happened to this thing. So what we're going to do, we're going to make this thing out of polypropylene. It's a nice soft plastic, but you can get an air stapler, fine wire staples, put it in, and it will hold it pretty good. I mean, you have a hard time getting that staple out. Now, what's good about that is you can wrap material over it, even though you're not, but you could, or you can, staple through the rug right on here, and to give it some support. All right. Now, polypropylene plastic is nice to work with. It's soft. Although it needs to be supported over, like maybe a couple feet, it will start to sag in the middle for you. But for a piece this big, it should work perfect. Alright, 1/4 inch. It's got some body to it, let me tell you. So this little piece like this, it's not going to be bad. And the good thing about it too, is you can heat that plastic up, and you could probably make it bend almost the same way as this. With a little playing around. But we'll get to that later. Now, over here, you see we have a piece of metal. Alright, that's used to really bolt this thing down. Alright, there's a hole right here, and the bolt goes through there. I guess they figure if they put the bolt through here, it's not like it's going to be going through the wood, and the wood will rot out, and the whole thing will, disintegrate. But so they put rivets in it. Now, why they thought the rivets were going to rot out, that's another story. Alright? But we're going to cut this thing out too, the little round opening that we have here. And we're going to transfer this piece of metal over to the plastic that we have. And also, we have this other piece of metal that came off of there. We're going to transfer this over to the piece that we're making now too. So, this one right over here, like this. It was just a reinforcement for the wood. Now, everybody's saying, oh, well, how are we going to mark this? How are we going to cut this? Okay. You got to get yourself a China marker. That's like a grease pencil. White. You could probably use other colors too, but white would probably be the best since the plastic is black. Alright. Now, what we're going to do is we want to use the least amount of material, since this stuff is kind of expensive, that we have to. So we're going to try to mount this or lay it out on this plastic so it's like right up against the corner. Now, the good thing about that is we have a straight edge on the bottom that it came, from the factory. That's how they cut the sheets out. And so we're going to use that as a guide to lay this thing out. Now I'm going to go ahead and move this camera so we get a close-in look at what I'm doing. Now, since we have a straight edge over here on the bottom of this piece of wood, we might as well put it against our factory straight edge right here. Like so. And what we want to probably do, it would not be a bad idea, is to get yourself a little vice grip like so. You don't want this thing moving when you're marking it. So let's just hold this right about here would be good. Okay. And you want to get a fairly sharp point on your marking pen, your grease pencil, and just go ahead. Make sure you're actually marking, not that, some kind of theoretical marking where it only appears through a microscope. Okay, I'm going to mark this over here. I came real close to making this out of wood. And then like a light bulb went off of my head. And it says, what, are you kidding me? I don't want to do this thing like 2 times. Now, just go ahead and follow every opening that you have. Every cutout. Trace it. Double check it after you mark it to make sure you have a line there. So I'm going to go ahead and finish marking this. Now, if you notice over here, you'll have like 2 round cutouts up here where actually they have like a strap that goes through here. Yeah, I know, that's crazy. They have a strap that goes through here and then just holds it up to the dash, which I think is crazy too. But hey, that's how they did it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put these in, even though they're not here on the wood. I have one little piece of wood left over here that I can use as a guide to make these similar. You might have to roll this thing down though to be able to mark it. Since these are up in the air, we'll just roll it backwards. Okay, now let me see here. I almost have this. Now we're going to loosen up. Well, first we're going to make a little mark. We had this little circle cut out down here that this piece of metal went in. So we're just going to mark that with white. Right on the edge here. So we know how wide to cut it. And then we'll come back later and we're going to figure out what the dimension is from here to here. I think it's about 1.5 inches. Right, we'll measure that a little later so we can transfer that measurement onto this. Now what we're going to do, remove our vice grip. Now we have to still make our 2 circles in here for our bolts. It's adjustable, that's why they're so big. And we're going to roll this whole thing down. Just like this. This thing is warped so bad it's going to be hard to mark. But this really isn't like rocket science over here. As long as we're in the ballpark, we're going to be good. We can always measure the other side and transfer the measurements over here. Now let's take it off, see what we did. You see that? I missed part of one. Let's put this back. Could have swore I did that. Must be a theoretical mark. Okay. That's enough of that. Now double check it again to make sure we have everything. Everything looks good. Except, you know, we have to finish this line off over here. We'll just take the measurements from over here and transfer them over to here. Should be a piece of cake. I see I left out a line over here, but I can guess that one. Here's the fill that one in. Don't forget, we're going to be cutting this with a saw, so we got to have a line. So I'm going to go ahead now and finish up the detail on the top piece. I'll be right back. Now I have two jigsaw blades here, and this one here is like 24 teeth per inch or something. This is for steel. That we do not want to use because it will melt the plastic, and then as soon as you go through it, it will melt right back together again. So I'm going to use this one here. It's called fine wood high alloy steel bit. Okay, they have a more aggressive one that has, you know, bigger teeth and spread out farther, but that might be a little too much. We're going to start with this. We can't really, you know, like overheat the plastic too much. We want to cut through it pretty fast. You don't want to play games because you don't want to heat it up and have it fuse on us again. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in my little jigsaw, and we're going to go ahead and cut the outside. Now I will be using a fairly inexpensive Black & Decker jigsaw. And what I'm going to have to do, I think before I even start, is right here when we come to like a spot where we have to turn, we're going to have to drill a 3/8 hole in there. So when we get up to that point, you're going to be able to, where the hole is, you can then turn your blade. But without having a hole drilled here, you can never make any turn. And it's the same thing with coming up over here to the top. We have a round ridge. Unless we have a little hole to go in there when we come through, we got to get into that hole to be able to turn this. And then when we get to over to this other point, in order to turn this thing around again, we should have another little hole here, 3/8, so we can go ahead and make the, you know, make the turn to come down. And it's the same thing with every curve that you have in here. Now some gradual curve like this, remove this, there'll be no problem making. No problem in this. And over here, I noticed they cut this on an angle. I don't know if there's a reason for that or not, but there probably is. So we're going to drill a hole here and drill a hole up here too, so we can make the turn to come around. And wherever there is a bend, you know, like a pretty sharp bend, we're going to have to drill holes. Now this whole side is going to be easy. That's one big swoop coming all the way down. And over here, we're going to just come right off the plastic. So that really should be no problem. We just get back on the plastic over here to make this corner. However, going back this way, we're going to have to drill a hole up here in this little round hump we have, so we can come around. So before I even start, I'm going to start drilling holes. I'm going to get my 3/8 of an inch bit out and put it in my drill, and go ahead and start making some of these holes. Like up here we have these like little square cutouts where the pedals go through. Alright, for sure, you know, we're going to have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6, maybe one on each side. But you want to make sure you just drill on the inside. Okay? So this way when you cut that piece out, you'll never even know that the hole was in there to allow you to turn it. Okay? get a hold of that one because you don't want to lose that one. I'm going to go ahead and start drilling now. Now I managed to do well, most of my drilling with a 5/16 bit. I found out that my saw blade fits in it pretty good. Sometimes the smaller the better. And over here I put almost a 1/2 inch bit through to try to save myself some time. But I'm going to have to go get a wood file now and go through here and just make this hole look a little more presentable. Now you can see where I drilled these holes. I hope they're in here for each turn that I have to make. I forgot one right here. Notice I'm using electric, not a battery powered one. You'd probably go through 3 batteries by the time you get done here if you had one of them. So I'm ready to go. I could come in through here, get up to this point, take that turn, come down to this point, make this turn, go up and make the turn in a circle, go up to this circle, make the turn, come up to here, do a little wave, come up here, here, here. I got my whole route mapped out. And over here, I had one on the left corner of my slot and one up on the right corner. So I'll be able to come down with the saw and go across with the saw and do the other thing in the other hole. So I'll be able to get this whole piece out. So I'm going to go ahead now and start cutting this thing, and we'll see what comes up. So you got the idea. You can see that it is possible. I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting this out. Just one other thing. You want to make sure you cut your little pieces out first before you go up to the top and make your final cut to release this whole piece, or else you'll have nothing to hold it down. See, I got some weights up here on the plastic that are holding this down, and if I was just to be working with this little piece, I'd have a hard time cutting it up, getting enough solid enough something to hold it, you know, to hold it down without this still being attached. So I'm working up this way, you see. I'm working up towards the top. Then when I get up towards the top, the last thing I do will be to cut it from the whole rest of the piece. I got this cut out already. I cut off this here. Cut out my 2 brakes, my pedals. Now once you get your piece cut out, you want to get yourself a wood file, flat one, then like a wood file rat tail that's round, tapers down, goes from small here to big. And you want to get another one that's a little bigger, goes from small to big again. If you get something for metal, you're going to clog up all your teeth. That's why it's better to use something for wood. I'm going to go ahead and elongate these holes here a little bit, and clean them up. Clean them up here where my slots are. That's where my file should go in nice, like so. And I'll be right back to you. Well, here it is. It's all I got to do now is just bend it and put in my little pieces of metal that I have in there. Looks like we're good to go. Almost. So here's my little bender. I put the original piece in here, and I found out that if I guide off these two bottom holes, I should get the same bend by pulling up my levers over here. As far as this angle, I found out, I put this old piece on here, and I found out if I pull my lever here up about maybe 9 or 10 inches, I should get this almost the same bend. Now, there's a piece of metal right here that holds this in place, alright? And I still have to put a couple vice grips on here to hold it in place, or else, you know, it's going to move as soon as I pull up my levers here. So I'm going to have to get myself another vice grip, it looks like. And we should be in Fat City. Now the idea is to get my heat gun and heat it right in here till she starts to get soft. Then just go ahead and start pulling up my levers, and supposedly, hopefully, she'll be able to bend that piece of plastic up. Well, let's see. Looks like I'm going to be here for a while, so when she starts to go, I'll show it to you. I think I might have it. I just hope I didn't go too far with it. I should be in a ballpark though. Let's see. It isn't bad. It isn't bad at all. I end up in the same place for the most part. But they say the proof is in the pudding, or pudding. I'm going to try it out in the car, see if it actually does work. Well, here it is. Fits like a glove. This has to go, I gotta push back a little bit here, but that's it. They actually have a little strap that goes through that loop in the back, and it holds it up to that other thing on the top, which I think is crazy, but hey, it should last forever. Well, this is Vince, Auto Restoration Videos. Don't forget to check out my website, autorestorationvideos.com, and click on my Facebook link, and I go into greater detail on this project. This is before, and this is after. I just got to screw the little attachment that goes on here and put the little bar that goes across and pop rivet that in, through a little hole in it, and I'm good to go. Thanks for watching my video. We'll see you in the next one.